and welcome to my channel. In today's video we are going to be going through the books that I have read in September. I know I missed out on doing an August wrap up, but at the time of filming my August one I just became really unwell, so I haven't done an August wrap up, but I am going to be going through my September wrap up and also my August wrap up in this video. So in my August wrap up, all I read was all on my Kindle. So the first book I read was Tempt by Kat Singleton. This was a small town romance. I know I did a reading vlog on it, so I will tag that for you guys because I won't lie to you, I definitely may have forgotten exactly what that book was about because that was in August and we're now at the end of September. Actually, we're on the 2nd of October, so that was a good few months ago. All I remember was that it was the second one in the series. I really enjoyed it. It was Camden's and I can't remember her name. Anyway, their book was really cute. I wanted to read their book for absolutely ages. It was a great one for the series. Kind of follows along and make the Billionaire series make more sense because that is what I've read in the past before, and I did really enjoy it. Was it my favourite? I think I gave it a 4 stars. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst one, but I did really enjoy it. I do enjoy Kat Singleton's writing. If I know I want a book which is easy reading that I know I'm going to enjoy, Kat Singleton is one of the people I go to. She's not my all-time favourite author, but I have read quite a few books by her. I am very excited for her last book in the Billionaire series because I don't really read many Billionaire books anymore, but I do enjoy that series by her. That book was really good. And then the next ones that I read in August was a series. I basically read 1 to 6 in the Clifton Forge series by Devney. I read them all, every single one of them in the month of August. That's all I read, and I basically gave the whole entire series a 5 star. I've been raving on about the series for months. Literally, as soon as I'd finish a book I was like, people need to read this because I've not heard many people read it. I know I added it into a fall book Rex video because everyone needs to read this series. I've been telling Lonnie, who loves Devney like me, that's how we connected, and she's not read it yet, but I've been raving on to her about reading it. I'm gonna rave on to you guys about reading it because it's so good. If you love the Eden series by Devney, it gives a similar vibe. So it is motorcycle gang, there is murder, there is kidnapping, there is drama, there is love, there is spontaneous things happening, plot twists coming out of every angle. Like, this book is on a whole different level. You're reading it and you're like, I cannot put this book down. It's one of those books where you want to put it down because you've got other things to do, but you physically can't. I was reading these books like extremely quickly, like one after another. I was reading these books. I can't stop thinking about it now, and it's been what, over a month since I finished the series. This series is everything. I love the Eden series and that was my like introduction, but this series, because everything kind of entwines in the Devney series, like you'll read some of one series and something's happened from this one. Like, I think because I love Devney, the fact that this series is slightly darker just made me love it even more, because we got some darkness from the Eden series, but this was like darker, which just sometimes you just need. But this series is absolutely everything. They go through, every single person in it is kind of related, and then like the Eden series, everyone turns into a family, everyone finds themselves, everyone finds their family. Even if you don't have your own family, you find it in this series, and I think that's what Devney does so well. She does found families perfectly. Cannot stop raving on about the series. If you're gonna take one thing from this video right at this moment in time with this August wrap up, you need to read this Devney series because it was just chef's kiss beautiful. It was absolutely amazing. They're all in Kindle Unlimited. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, you can get them on there. They've not been traditional published, they're just still on Kindle Unlimited indie published. But my god, if this series ever gets traditionally published, I will be buying every single one of them books because it is just incredible. I need everyone to read it, and I need everyone's like thoughts and opinions because I've not found anyone who's read it, so I can't talk to anyone about it. Let me know if you've read it or if you're going to read it due to this video. But if you just want good old, slightly dark but not too dark, motorcycle gang, found families vibe, Clifton Forge series, this is the series to read. Go read it, come back to me, let me know your thoughts and feelings because my god, is it amazing. That's how many books I read. So I've read 7 books in August. Then we hit into now September, which is where everything kind of just went downhill very quickly. I have read 3 books this month. This isn't because I haven't wanted to read, I've physically not been able to read. 1, work. 2, I've had quite a lot of health things going on with me, so due to everything communicating together and just deciding, no, you're not gonna be able to read. I've really struggled reading. I've been trying my best, but yeah, it's been a very annoying month because all I wanted to do is read, but I haven't been able to. I have been watching TV instead, which is perfectly fine. Everyone does that. I've just been binge watching Criminal Minds and not reading. I have read 3 books this month. One was physical and an audiobook, and the other one was on my Kindle. Let's go through these oceans and motions, shall we? The first one was We're All of Winnipeg and Me by Marina Zapta. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I believe I gave it about 4 stars. It was a slow burn, like a slow burn. Like, this is ridiculous how slow a burn this book was. It wasn't until like 400 pages that they kissed. There was tension, there was everything that you would want from a slow burn. I just think if it's going to be a slow burn, don't make it 500 pages plus long. I say if you're going to make a slow burn, make it 300 pages, because yeah, you'd think for a slow burn that's not quick, but at least you're not reading 400 pages just to get them to kiss. Do you know what I mean? At least you're only reading 200. The premise of the story is really good. It's a guy from Winnipeg. That's why it's called the Wall of Winnipeg. That was his name or something in football. He is like one of the best quarterbacks there is. And he has an assistant and she's just fed up of his crap. She wants to be a graphic designer, which I related to what she was saying about graphic design because I have a degree in graphic design, and my god, was she right in what she was saying. But she wants to pursue that, so goes and leaves him. He goes and finds her and convinces her to stay. He's from Canada and he's living in the US and doesn't want to move back to Canada. He's going to get deported, so he asks her to marry him so that he doesn't get deported or have to start out his visa. He can just stay here because he is married. Now she goes backwards and forwards going, I don't know, but he's got money, so he says he's going to pay it off at her loan. So that's how the premise is, and that's what it starts. But to get to that point, you have to read like 100 pages or something ridiculous, but you know, it is what it is. But it was a really good book. I did enjoy it. I just think I would have enjoyed it a lot more if it was either quicker to the point and less slow burn, which I know for a slow burn that sounds stupid, but like in All Roads Here it was a slow burn but it at least got to the point, whilst in this it took ages to get to the point. So either do that or if it was just shorter. But I did really enjoy it. I think if you love a slow burn you would absolutely love this. If you love a sports romance, you'll love it. There was points I was reading this and it was a lot at the end of the book where I was quoting stuff and I was posting about stuff because I did really enjoy it. It was such a struggle to get to that point that for me it's lacking that like 4-star feeling. For me, I need to get to the point to really enjoy a book. Like if a book grips me from the very beginning, that's fine, but this didn't. This took me 2 weeks to read. You know, even with everything going on, I still wanted to read, and this book I'd look at it and be like, I don't want to read it because I've not got to the point. And then the moment I got to like the good bit, I finished it in a day. You know, it's one of those. I would recommend to read it, but just be mindful if you don't like slow burn, do not read this book. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I can get along with it. But if you really don't like it, do not even attempt to touch this book. There's a lot better sports romances without slow burn that I would recommend to read. But if you love a slow burn, I would highly recommend this book. I was very excited to read it because I read All Roads Here and I absolutely adored that. But this one, it was lacking. It wasn't for me. I didn't get along with it as well as I thought I did, and I had very high expectations because I had a lot of people raving on about this and it just didn't hit, unfortunately. And then the next book that I read, because I've been in a fantasy mood, so I was like, I'm just going to read a fantasy book and that's just what I'm going to do. I have read The Serpent of the Wings of Night and I was annotating. As you can see, there's a lot of annotations. I'm actually doing like a full reading vlog, so these 2 books are in there as well with all my thoughts and feelings. This I listened to as an audiobook and I also read it because at the time I was struggling with a lot of headaches, a lot of migraines and a lot of neuralgia, which is why this is taking me like 2 weeks to read as well. I was listening to it whilst following along so I could annotate, which is why I've been able to annotate it. If I hadn't have followed it along, like those points where I was reading it by itself, and I think following it along with the story, I understood what the names were. I understood the concept a lot quicker and a lot better because I understood how you're supposed to pronounce things. When I'm reading fantasy, I really struggle because of my dyslexia, and I'll read something and be like, I have no idea what that is, and then just skip. But I did really enjoy it. It was really good. There's only like 1 chapter of spice in it, which I appreciated. I think with fantasy, sometimes you don't always need the spice. So I was like, yeah, that's chill with me. I've not really been enjoying spice recently. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm just in my fantasy era and I just want fantasy books that have nothing in them apart from like tension. I don't know what's going on. But this is about a girl and a trial, and her dad is the vampire king, but he's the Hajari vampire king, and then there's the other vampires. There's 2 types of them, and this guy took power like 200 years ago in one of these trials. Now she is again in this trial to get a wish from the goddess. Now she partners with Ryan, I think that's how you say his name, his friend Misha, and they go along, and like their story, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of her battling with her brain, there's a lot of him like keeping stuff from her. You're reading it at times and you're like, all right, this is what's happening, this guy's a good guy, this guy's not, and then it all of a sudden switches like that, and you're like, what? There is a lot of like upsetting parts in it. It's a lot of tension and not knowing what's happening. There is some gore in it, there is vampires in it, there is magic in it, there is so much good stuff in this book. For my first like proper fantasy book of this season of like fall, this was the perfect read, and I cannot wait to dive back into this book in November, like this series. I have it on my Kindle. I annotated this one. I know if I just annotate it on my Kindle, I won't actually annotate the physical one, and I want them both matching. Sections in here that I have annotated so much. There are so many annotations in this book that I cannot describe how this felt. Like I finished this book and I was sitting there like, what? Like, what have I just read? Because it just takes you on this emotional roller coaster, and then there's these turns, and then there's these things happening, and you're like, but why has this happened, and now this has happened? Because this doesn't make sense, but it does make sense, but then at the same time it doesn't make sense, and then it's heartbreaking and it's vile and an incredible read. I now know why everyone was raving on about this. I was supposed to read it last year when it was independently published, and then it got traditional published. I bought it for a $5. I was like, I'm gonna read this at some point when I feel up for it, and then I was like, I need a fantasy, this is what I want to read, and it was perfect. This is your fall must read. Please read this fall. Come back to me. It's like a $5 in the UK if you want to buy it. I've literally recommended this to so many people, as many people as I can. I'm like, you need to read this book. I've recommended it to my friend who doesn't even read fantasy, and I'm like, you need to read this book. She's probably not going to listen to me, but this book is incredible. Please go read. Then in the vein of that, I then read the novella to it, which is The Six Scorched Roses. I believe that's what it's called. Whilst this is happening, like right at the end, whilst this end bit has just happened, this novella is on about this 2 people in a different place altogether. But I have a feeling they're going to be coming into the second book. So my friend Lena was like, you need to read this little novella. It's a little novella, it's a very cutesy one, so it's not gonna be too complicated, but just go read it. It's a very good read. So I read it, and it was so good. It was a bit confusing because it's not in the same, it's in the same world, but it kind of just dive straight in, and you're like, whoa, who are these people? Who are you? What are you? Why is this going on? But it was literally like 200 pages. It was perfect. I read it in like 2 days, which is just what I needed, and it was just perfection. It was so good, and it was just like this little backstory of these 2 characters that I think you're going to see in the next one. And it's about, basically there's a plague going on in this village with the humans, and this girl is like, I'm going to find the cure, so heads up to where the vampire is and goes, you're gonna help me. That's the premise of the whole book, and it is the most cutest little thing ever. I can't, if I say any more, because it's such a short novella, it will literally spoil the rest of the book. That's the premise, and you have to read it, I'd say, before you read the second one, so you can understand this other 2 characters that are going to be in the second one. I don't even know if there are in the second one because I haven't read it. I'm assuming, and I'm hoping, because they are the cutest people ever. But yeah, they are all the books that I've read. I'm in my fantasy era right now. All I want to read is fantasy. That's all fantasy and coziness, that's all I want to read right now. So that's what I'm planning on. I have absolutely loved the books that I've read this month. I think if it hadn't have been for just everything going on, I think I would have read a bit more, but you know, it is what it is. We've got things to do, we've got people to see, and we've got things going on in our lives. So, you know, I'm just going to take that I've read a book, I've read 3 books, as a win, and the fact that I've not read anything. So proud of me for that. But yeah, if you enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below if you've read any of these books, what books you read this month, if you've had any 5 stars. Please do let me know. Don't forget to subscribe to be subscribed to the next video. The next video I think is going to be a book shopping trip, a very cute book shopping trip. So remember to subscribe for that, and I'll see you guys next time in my next video.